What should the American people know about foreign policy? That is, how it's formulated and what it's for.
Oh, that's a terrible question to start with. Because
Oh, we can start with something else.
No, it's all right. It's just that there's no really easy answer to it, because it's almost like the cliche about you probably shouldn't know what goes into making sausage, because it can scare you to death.
The new terrorist is born every second in the Middle East. We've ensured that a generation of young men will be alienated and radicalized in this process.
The Joint Chiefs recommended unanimously to President Kennedy that we strike.
We made all sorts of mistakes.
What intelligent creature, knowing that air, water, soil are us, would then proceed to use air, water, and soil as a toxic dump?
Just as we sided with Stalin against Hitler, we sided with Saddam Hussein against Khomeini.
Most of us grow up corporate. We look at the world through corporate eyes.
It took years and years to get the rights that we have. It can take a very short time to lose them.
We as individuals have incredible power.
People in the United States can give leaflets out on the street without being shot, but they don't.
The war in Vietnam was a far more extreme case. The number of people killed there was in the millions.
I didn't really know about any of that. I mean, I was born in '81, so in most of the '80s I was a kid. So that's kind of news to me.
Now, whether or not we should intervene in these countries and overthrow their governments is, I suppose, an open question. Some people would say maybe we did the right thing in overthrowing the government in Iran or the government in Zaire. The problem is our students today can't think about it. They can't conclude we did the right thing in overthrowing these governments or that we did the wrong thing, because they aren't told that we ever did anything.
The tragic 20th century history of Guatemala, little known in the United States, raises vital questions for Americans. Was their support of the Guatemalan military a mistake?
You can't go back without putting it in the perspective of the times. 53 was the height of anti-communism.
A democratically elected government was overthrown by forces set in motion by the United States. The results from this have been so terrible. The Guatemalan military, with our knowledge, committed genocide. This went on not for a decade, but this went on. And it's one of the most shameful chapters in the history of American foreign policy, and has been recognized as such by the CIA Inspector General.
In the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, the world came to within a millimeter of nuclear war. Reckless acts and policies led to the crisis, but the greatest mistake of all didn't happen.
It wasn't until 29 years later that we learned for the first time that at that moment, when the chiefs and really a majority of Kennedy's military and civilian advisors believed we should attack, at that moment the Cubans and the Soviets had 170 nuclear warheads on the soil of Cuba, roughly 60 or 70, to be used on the strategic warheads to attack cities on the East Coast. Had we attacked, those nuclear warheads would have been used without any question. How would it have ended? In utter catastrophe. That's how close we came. We haven't yet learned and applied the lesson.
President Carter's national security advisor was awakened one night at 3 o'clock in the morning and told that there were several thousand missiles coming at us across the Pacific Ocean. Turned out it was a total mistake.
Although the Cold War is over and Russia is no longer considered an enemy, Thousands of intercontinental missiles armed with nuclear weapons remain ready to launch on a moment's notice. Is this a mistake waiting to happen?
It's hard to believe, but the nuclear missiles in both Russia and the United States today are still on hair-trigger alert more than 10 years after the end of the Cold War. Nothing has really changed. It's really astonishing. The whole posture is geared, as it was during the Cold War, to a countdown measured in minutes. And for example, the commander out in Omaha that is responsible for all of our nuclear missile force is supposed to brief the president on his nuclear options and their consequences in 30 seconds. We're on the brink of the accidental or unauthorized use of nuclear forces on a constant day-to-day basis.
Even today.
Even today, of course.